Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of 1 Minute Breakdowns, where we break down the UFC card for this weekend, each and every fight. We try to break them down in a minute or less. Thanks again for the constant support on the series. It means a lot. If you haven't already, please leave a like, leave a comment about what you think about this weekend's event, and subscribe to the channel. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into this first fight. And as always, if you guys have questions about a specific matchup, feel free to leave your predictions, your questions, or your bets in the chat, and I'll make sure to get to them. But first fight of the evening, we have Kamuela Kirk going up against Esteban Ribovics. Kamuela Kirk and Esteban Ribovics, they're both going to be at 5'10", so same height. Kamuela Kirk is set to have a 6-inch reach advantage here, and Kamuela Kirk is going to be the older fighter by 2 years. So in this fight, I think Ribovics really looked good against in that Razabov fight, even though he lost. Very solid striking. The technique is clean. Takedown defense is poor. Like, I'll just say it as it is. Kirk at the moment is someone who's moving up a weight class in this fight, primarily a grappler with karate striking. Never seems to really like mix up the martials really that well. So that's always a concern. Doesn't really have solid wrestling, which is why I'm leaning more towards the Ribovic side. I think Ribovic is going to be the much better striker here, and I think his get-up game is pretty decent. So give me Ribovic in this fight, where if this stays on the feet, I heavily favor him, and that's what I'm expecting to happen. Just because Kamuela Kirk cardio is also a little bit sus, for a lack of better words. Shout out to my brothers. Seba, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. And Rob, I got you guys. All right. Without further ado, let's go on to the next one. We have Shannon Ross going up against Jesus Aguilar. Another fight where the line movement was pretty wild. Jesus Aguilar was a much bigger favorite. Got bought down all the way to where he's at now, which is around minus 135. And with all due respect, I mean, these are two low-level UFC fighters. Aguilar is going to be someone that's going to be looking more to pull guillotine more often than not, show his grappling. He has 6 of his 8 wins by sub. 5 of those 6 sub wins are by guillotine, so we know what he's looking for. Durability is a huge concern for Shannon Ross. We saw him get KO'd twice back-to-back in his last 2 fights, but against some legit competition. I mean, those people are no slouches. I do favor Aguilar ever so slightly just because of the durability of Ross. And I think Aguilar is going to be able to pull guillotine in this fight successfully and find the sub. But if you're looking to play Aguilar, I wouldn't play moneyline. I would just play the sub because I don't think he has much decision equity in this fight. But yeah, give me Jesus Aguilar by submission. In the next matchup, we have Cameron Simon going up against Terrence Mitchell. And then, guys, just since this is the first fight with a huge favorite, I mean, this one is not – I mean, it's still pretty big at minus 500. But when it comes to the fights with the minus 900, minus 1,000 favorites, there's not going to be too much to say. I'm just giving you guys a fair heads up. Cameron Simon versus Terrence Mitchell. Simon's going to be 2 inches shorter. We don't really have a read on the reach, but Simon's also going to be 11 years younger than Terrence Mitchell. Terrence Mitchell is going to be someone who fought on the flyweight season of The Ultimate Fighter, so he's moving up a weight class technically. And not really much to say about this one. Simon's a big favorite, rightfully so. I think he has better cardio, very fast hands, and has some power. I think Simon probably gets this done inside the distance. Not to mention Terrence Mitchell's fighting out of the Alaskan MMA scene, which has proven time and time again to be a very weak MMA regional scene amongst the rest that are in the United States. So, yeah, I think Simon inside the distance. More powerful striker here. Next up, we have Vitor Petrino versus Marcin Prachnio. Petrino is going to be 1 inch shorter than Prachnio. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here, and he's going to be the younger fighter by 9 years. Petrino, I think, is a justifiable favorite around the minus 260 range. Impressed me a lot against Anton Turkey, where cardio looked better than ever. Grappling and wrestling also looked much improved. You saw him go for his own takedowns and get some top time as well. The knockout power is always going to be there for Petrino, and against like a guy like Prachnio who doesn't really cover up all that well, I think Petrino is going to be able to land the knockout blows here, as Prachnio has been knocked out multiple times in the first round specifically. And to those people that are saying that Prachnio hasn't been knocked out in quite some time, I mean, look at the competition. It's Ike Villanueva, who, sorry, is older. Khalil Roundtree, who is pretty decent, but then you look at William Knight, who didn't really throw a single strike, and then the corpse of Philippe Lins, who almost got Prachnio out of there before he gassed in that second round. So, yeah, I think Petrino inside the distance KO is the prediction here for me. Next up, we have Edgar Chairez going up against Tatsuro Taira, and this is one of the fights that I was mentioning right before I broke down the Simon fight. Very big favorite in Taira at minus 900 to minus 1,000, I think justifiably so. We know what he brings to the table. Has the high-paced grappling with serviceable striking, has some decent leg kicks. Chairez is a decent fighter, but I mean, get-up game is good, but his takedown defense is horrible. So he's probably going to get taken down multiple times in the first round. Doesn't really offer too much off of his back. And when you're getting taken down multiple times by Clayton Carpenter, who I'm not going to say he's a bad wrestler, but the technique on his wrestling isn't all that good. I think Taira is going to be able to get whatever he wants here, and I think Taira wins this fight by submission. And yes, Petrino smash indeed. Next up, we have Jimmy Crute against Alonzo Menifield. This is the Twitter argument fight of the week, the tug of war. Obviously, this is a rematch from last time out where they drew. But let's read the measurables here. Height advantage is going to be going towards Jimmy Crute, 2 inches taller, and he's going to be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage here. He's also going to be the younger fighter at 8 years younger. So, man, this fight, I don't really know how people can take a firm stance on it. I just think Alonzo Menifield can land that kill shot if Jimmy Crute's striking defense is the same as it was last time out. But also, I think Jimmy Crute can land multiple takedowns like last time out. And to me, when you have the takedown ability and the ability to land that control time and stay on top of someone for an extended period of time. The last fight out, he got 8 minutes of control time, I believe it was. I think Crute is the guy that I would be more comfortable siding with here, especially if I'm going to put money on it. And to those who bet Crute last time out, I think you kind of have to bet Crute this time, just because if you're betting him at minus 250, you're going to have to bet him at minus 120 here. So, yeah, I mean, I think Jimmy Crute should be able to improve the striking defense a little bit and be a little bit more mindful of the P's and Q's and find his takedowns. Possibly get a submission. I think submission in the second round is probably what I would predict here. Yeah, I definitely think Crute can get this one done. He just has to stay safe and grow up. His head was moving on the center line at all in the last fight against Menifield, and Menifield had a field day in that first round, hurt him really bad. But I think that's some after effects in that fight. You know, that would be really crazy. And man, another draw, I mean, it would have to take another point deduction or like a 10-8 round. And a 10-8 round is probably going to be on the Crute side, in my opinion, just with the grappling. But I highly doubt it. What's up, my brother Fight Talk? I appreciate you joining in. Under 2.5, definitely. You got to have to parlay that with something. On to the next one we go. We have Yasmin Jauregui going up against Denise Gomez. Yasmin is going to be 1 inch taller here. She's going to be at a 1-inch reach advantage as well, and she's going to be the older fighter by a year. I think the odds are a little bit wide in this fight, but I do think Jauregui should win. She's a solid striker. She has some power, and I like her kicking game a lot. Denise Gomez is a junkyard dog. Like, she'll be there until the end, and she can make this close. I do think the plus 3.5 at plus 170, I believe it was last time I saw it, for Denise Gomez is a pretty decent number and probably the safest bet on this fight specifically. But I do think Yasmin wins this fight at a high clip just due to the sheer fact she lands more volume and she's able to pretty much put a beating on these girls in the jiu-jitsu. So I think she's going to be able to take Denise Gomez down and maybe even subber here. But if not, I think Denise Gomez could steal around, keep things close, still lose though. So my prediction is Yasmin Jauregui, but a very close fight, closer than the odds indicate. Shout out to my boys at the Chronic Combat Conversation here. I appreciate you tuning in. And if you guys haven't already, please check out their show because their show is one of the funniest out there. And for those who disagree, I'm sorry, you're wrong. This should be, you know, maybe. I think that Yasmin and Denise fight could possibly be fun, but there's a lot of exciting fights on this card that I think eclipse this one by a wide margin. We all know where your side in Fight Talk. Next up, we have Jack Della Maddalena going up against Josiah Harold. Jack Della Maddalena is going to be 4 inches taller. He's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage here, and he's going to be the older fighter by 2 years. Josiah Harold, the muscle hamster, coming in on short notice. And, I mean, there really isn't much I need to say here. I think Maddalena, with that reach advantage, is going to be able to style on Harold in the boxing. And, I mean, Harold is a 155er that's moving up to 170 here, but it has shown decent takedown ability. I just don't think it's going to be successful here against Maddalena, even though Maddalena hasn't really proven anything in the grappling realm or the wrestling realm at all to us. But, yeah, I think Maddalena first round KO is the most common prediction amongst everyone here in the space, and I think that's what's going to happen. I'm not going to try and BS my way into, oh, I think Harold's live. Everybody's live until they get hit in the face. So, yeah, I think Maddalena round 1 KO. No need to go more in depth with that one. Next up, we have a really exciting fight. We have Nico Price going up against Robbie Lawler, and this is Robbie Lawler's retirement fight. Robbie Lawler, obviously the older fighter. He's going to be older by 8 years. And, yeah, it's just sad to see him go, man. He's also going to be the shorter fighter by 1 inch, and he's going to be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage here against Nico Price. As I mentioned, this is Lawler's retirement fight. Has not looked good in his last 2. The durability, obviously, getting worse by the years. And it's been a year since his last fight. Very slow with the reactions as well. And I think Nico Price is going to be that wild striker that looks to win more moments than minutes. And I think the number is wide, but I just think that Robbie Lawler's done. I think Nico Price is going to be able to knock him out and get this done inside the distance, even though Nico Price fights like a madman. So, yeah, give me Nico Price here by KO. Next up, we have another very wide line. We have Bo Nickel going up against Valentin Woodburn. The Animal. I don't know that was his nickname. Biggest favorite on the card. I think biggest favorite in UFC history, Bo Nickel. Intangibles, 6'1" versus 5'8". So Nickel's going to be taller by 4 inches here. No reach advantage listed here for Val Woodburn. And he's going to be the older fighter by 2 years. Unfortunately, it's Bo Nickel round 1 by sub. And yeah, I'm just going to carry on because it's very hard to predict this one. Val Woodburn has shown that he has some knockout power, but everybody says that until they get taken down by Bo Nickel in that first round. Let's go ahead and check out the chat. Yeah, I think Nico is going to get the finish in this fight, personally. That durability is... I appreciate that. The durability is a big question in Robbie Lawler, and we saw it last time out against Brian Barberena. And Brian Barberena is not a good striker, with all due respect. And Nico Price, I would say, is levels above a Brian Barberena in the striking. Yeah, I would love to root for Robbie here, but unfortunately, we're in the business of making money, and it's hard to even look to bet on a guy who's in his retirement fight. The retirement angle is undefeated. And B, getting up there in age, very slow reaction time, and the durability has been cracked in his past 2. So I can't be too confident at all in this one. But on to the next one, we have a really exciting fight, probably the most exciting fight for me personally. We have Dan Hooker going up against Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner is going to be 3 inches taller. Both fighters are going to have the same reach, and Jalen Turner is going to be the younger fighter by 5 years. this is a firefight, and I think both guys are the type that are going to bring it. They're both very exciting with their styles, and I don't expect this one to be any different at all. I think Turner has the power to finish fights, solid striking we've seen, and uses his length to an advantage, which not a lot of UFC fighters tend to use all that often. They have the length advantage, but they don't know how to stay at that distance, the proper distance. And Dan Hooker is a dog. He has the solid striking as well and can mix in the wrestling if he wants to, but I don't think that's going to be necessary here. I think Jalen Turner, just projecting a little bit higher. We have a fighter that's projecting to move up in rankings versus Dan Hooker, who's I would say at the tail end of his prime. If not, he's already past it. Getting up there in age and obviously faced a tougher level of competition, Hooker, but durability is what scares me off him here. I think Turner's going to be able to land at will pretty much in this fight, and I think a knockout win for Jalen Turner is what we have in store for this Saturday, or a club and sub. I just think Turner is the much faster striker here as well. So give me Jalen Turner. And let's see. Next up, we're getting into the juicy fights here. We have Robert Whittaker going up against Dricus du Plessis. Robert Whittaker is going to be the older fighter by 3 years here. He's going to be giving up a 1 inch in the height, and then he's going to be giving up 2.5 inches in the reach department. And here's the thing: we've seen how Dricus du Plessis is a very solid striker, but also is a wild madman and will throw in the most unorthodox and unexpected ways, similar to how surprised we are with some of the things Yair Rodriguez does, but in a more wild way with Dricus, in my opinion. But Robert Whittaker is a very, very solid technician on the feet. And I think he's going to be able to stay out of the danger that du Plessis presents. And I think Whittaker is going to try and gas DDP out before he tries to unload on him. And we've seen that du Plessis, after a round and a half, he's pretty much done. He did mention that he got that surgery done to fix the nostril that he wasn't able to breathe out of. So we might see that change a little bit. But I just think Whittaker is the much more solid striker here. And he's going to be the much more solid all-round fighter when it comes to the wrestling, the striking, and just mixing the martial arts up. So I think Robert Whittaker is a solid favorite here, and I don't think du Plessis has anything to offer besides a knockout, a surprise flash knockout in the early going. Other than that, I think Robert Whittaker sails to an easy win here. Let's check the chat out here. What's up, my brother Easy Picks? I appreciate you showing up and tuning in. Did you see how quick Hooker walked away from the face-off? Yeah, I mean, Hooker also looks like he's going through a little bit of a midlife crisis, dyeing his hair and whatnot. I don't know. And the tattoos, too. It's not just one. You got a whole back piece and 2 shin pieces. That's a lot. Yes, sir. Appreciate you tuning in, Tofi Kingston. And under 2.5. You know what? In this fight, yeah, under 2.5 is definitely a nice look, but also I could see Whittaker just playing it completely safe until he wins a decision. I wouldn't write that off personally. Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's the same prediction here on my end. I think Whittaker is going to dog walk him. But we could be surprised. I mean, DDP can knock people out, and Whittaker's been knocked out before. So that first round is going to be tricky for Whittaker, in my opinion, until we start see du Plessis gas out. But moving on, next fight, we have Brandon Moreno going up against Alexandre Pantoja. Brandon Moreno is going to be the younger fighter by 4 years. He's going to be the taller fighter by 2 inches, and he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage in this fight. Obviously, the narrative is that Pantoja is 2-0 against Brandon Moreno here. One of those fights having no odds in the tough house, sorry. So Ultimate Fighter House, this is like 6-7 years ago, so it's been quite some time. And then the second fight was in the UFC. Also, Pantoja looked like he pretty much dominated in that one. But I think Moreno has made the proper improvements to make this a much closer fight. I still do think this fight is very close. I think Pantoja should not be this big of an underdog, personally. I do think that the plus 5.5 line on Alexander Pantoja is very solid because all he needs to do is not get finished and to win a round. And in these flyweight fights, we don't really see too many finishes, which this fight is expected to go to decision. I mean, it's evens to go to decision or to finish inside. But after the press conference today, I mean, Alexander Pantoja did mention that he wanted to bring the fight to Brandon Moreno and just create chaos and try to get the finish. So you never know. What if he does not get that finish and he gasses out? Brandon Moreno can capitalize and get a finish of his own. So I'm staying away from this fight personally, but this is going to be really fun to watch. I do think Pantoja is the lean on the money line side here personally, and the plus 5.5 is a solid look. So give me Alexander Pantoja, but not too confident. And last but not least, we have Alexander Volkanovski going up against Yair Rodriguez. 34 years old for Alexander Volkanovski going up against Yair Rodriguez, who is 30 years old. So 4-year age advantage here for Yair. Yair is also going to be at a 5-inch height advantage here, and the reach is just about the same, which is crazy to me. Obviously, Volk is the big favorite, and I think rightfully so. Just respect-wise, he is the best featherweight that we have seen on planet Earth, and nobody can argue that. Respectfully, pound for pound, one of the best in the world. Him and John Jones going at it for that #1 spot. I think Volkanovski is safe wherever this fight goes, but the thing that brings an interesting dynamic is the capability of Yair Rodriguez to go and throw these wild strikes and to pretty much catch Volk by surprise with certain things. And the kicking game is something that Volk has not been exposed to all that often in his past couple of opponents. Islam Makhachev, not much of a kicker. The Korean Zombie just got mauled. Max Holloway is also not that much of a kicker himself. And then you look at Brian Ortega, same thing, not much of a striker. And then you have a guy in Yair Rodriguez who is a really solid kicker, and he likes to kick the body with that left kick. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Volk deals with that because it's an added element that we really haven't seen him defend. But I don't think it's going to cause him too much problems. I think he should be able to stay out of danger here, stay at range, and possibly find a finish against Yair Rodriguez, the uber tough Yair Rodriguez. But I think he's going to be able to employ the wrestling here. I think that's the smartest way for Volk to approach this fight. Go about the wrestling and eliminate some of the wild factor from Yair. So I think Volk is a very solid favorite here if you want to put him in a parlay or something. But your heart's going to be beating really fast throughout this fight because every kick that Rodriguez lands sounds like it's a missile. So not for the faint-hearted. But yeah, guys, that's the end of this episode. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends and fam, whoever's interested. And I will see y'all next week. Peace until then.